All right, so numbers 12 through 14 on the study guide. And number 12, it says, if z is at 3, -4, so let's plot that, 3, -4. We're going to reflect it first over the x-axis, which means there's probably two transformations going on here. Reflect it over the x-axis, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 from the x-axis. So we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to, right there, that's where my z prime is currently at. And now we're going to move it 5 units to the right. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is where my z prime prime is. So z prime prime, or my final point, is going to be here at 8, 4. Let's look at that if we'd taken a different approach. If we'd started with c at 3, -4, and we first reflected over the x-axis, the x will stay the same. X-axis, x stays the same. That means my y goes opposite. But then, from there, we're going to move it 5 units to the right. To move anything to the right or left, that's going to be in our x value, and so we should be adding 5 plus that 3, which would have been 8, and that 4 would have stayed the same. So there it confirms our answer. On number 13, it says, if r prime is at 0, 5, what is the pre-image r if the following rule was used to produce this image? What I see was that initially we took this x and y, we found the opposite of x, and we switched it. That's a 270-degree rotation. It's a 270-degree counterclockwise rotation. So basically, let's take that rule, x and y, arrow, and it gave us 270 degrees, find the opposite of x and switch them. And so we're looking right now at an r prime that is at 0 and then 5. We've got to go backwards. So what we initially did to our x was we found the opposite and then we put it in this position. So this is supposed to be my x, but we also found the opposite of it, so we need to put it back. So we're doing the opposite of this 5, which is -5. And then that y right there, remember that y switched positions, so this is really like my y, it's going here. Now let's double check this. If we do a 270-degree rotation, we're going to do the opposite of this x, which is 5, and then we're going to switch it, which is 0, 5. So my pre-image coordinate is going to be at -5, 0 before we actually put it into this rule. On number 14, it says, if the point 3, 1 for j is reflected over y equals x. Okay, that means that when we do reflection over this, we're just flipping the x and the y, so we're getting 1, 3. So we're really getting the point here, 1, 3. That's where my j prime is at. So what we're looking at doing here is trying to figure out which transformation would have the same coordinate. We're trying to get a coordinate that has that is 1, 3. So this one says, well, let's take m and let's transform it by the rule that you see there. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to be finding the opposite of both. That is a rotation. So if we take that point 1, 3 and finding the opposite of both, what that would make would be an m prime. Opposite of 1 is -1, opposite of 3 is -3. So we're looking at the point -1, -3. That's not the same as j. So this cannot be that. Alright, so on B it says that h is at 1, -3, and then we're going to reflect it over the y-axis, so the y will stay the same. We're just going to reflect it here, which is where my h prime will be. So y-axis, the y stays the same, so that -3 stays the same, but the x goes opposite. That is not the same as this j prime, so this cannot be it, this cannot be it. On the next set here, it says that W is rotated about the origin. This is 270 degrees counterclockwise. So if we're looking at W prime, 270 degrees, find the opposite of x and switch them. So the opposite of this x would be 1, and we're switching them. So if we're looking at this here, we had the -1, +3, which was here for W. And then when we rotated, it was going to give us 3, 1. Again, that is not the same as this picture up here. So likely my answer is answer choice D. On D, we say that we have the point 4, -5, and we're going to be going 3 units to the left, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go up 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And when I do, for my E prime, I'm going to get the ordered pair 1, 3, which is the same as the J prime. This is my answer.